call the meeting to order. I just we already confirmed that we do have a quorum. I do ask if you're going to make a motion or second a motion or any discussion, if you could just say what town. So if you make a motion made by Hanson, second by Hanson or whatever, if you would please. We have a couple of adjustments, agenda adjustments. One of them is there'll be no vote on the March minutes, and this meeting is being recorded. So if I can get a motion, we'll move on to the minutes. If I can get a motion to approve the February minutes.
Whitman
Motion to
votes.
approve, Abington.
Yeah. Second, Whitman.
Okay, motion by Abington, second by Whitman. Any discussion? All in favor?
You want to do a roll call vote?
What's that?
Do you have to do a roll call vote?
I don't think so.
No, you just ask who opposes.
We didn't the last time. Yep, I was going for oppose. And oppose?
One abstention. I wasn't there.
Right, I'm okay with it.
Rockland.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. All right.
Cohasset.
Motion carried.
Whitman,
All
yes.
right, okay, we're going to move on to the treasurer report, so I'll hand it over to Jim.
Thank you, Chris. Welcome, everybody. In your package was the treasurer's report for March 31st, 2020. On the cover was our all-star Jerry Shaw with the 3D printers churning out all the masks and so forth. Jerry was also here this evening. Left around a little after 4 when I arrived, so he's been here almost every day during the virus, making the masks. I know that Lisa Bellatoni's also been down there helping him out. So, and also there's some masks that were donated to the Kingston Fire Department and so forth. So I'm sure Tom will talk about that at some point later on today. The cash position. March 31st, 2020, total cash is a little over $6 million. Everything's going fine. The money's flowing in as required by our agreements and so forth. The next page is our revenues. We have $1.3 million came in from our member towns based upon our March 1st billing. The money from Cohasset and Whitman and Hanover have been received in the last couple of days, so everything's in for this period. The other part is our Chapter 70 revenue, and we have a surplus transfer, which was just a number that was in the budget to cover the school bus leases and so forth. We also have down below the second half of our out-of-district tuition. We have $829,000 has come in the last 30 days from all of the towns, and the one we're waiting on is Weymouth. Weymouth is always late because they do ACH reporting, and so they have to go through their approvals through the mayor, and so they're always a little bit delayed with that. One other factor is that up top I skipped over. We did receive a second payment from Pupil Transportation of $21,000. So we got our initial payment of $306,000, and then we just got a second payment for $21,000. So in the bottom right-hand column is a little report on what we're expecting for Pupil Transportation. We budgeted $489,000. We received $306,000. We received $21,000. So we're projecting a potential surplus of about $146,000 in that line item. As you're aware with the budget, they're at an 80% clip right now to reimburse, and we use a lower percentage for our budget because we never know where the state's going to be with that. So overall, revenue's coming in as planned, and everything's in a good shape. The expenditures for the month of March, we had $936,000 spent. Again, the majority on payroll. No surprises. Everything's again running smoothly. At this time, I'd like to do my monthly thank you to Janine and Tricia. Both of them have been working through the whole situation in the virus and the school closures. They're both working remotely. They are coming in the office sporadically, usually on Tuesday mornings when I'm here to gather information and do some paperwork. But they are working remotely. They all have access remotely. And again, this is a thank you to Crystal and her staff as well, because if this had happened a year ago, we probably wouldn't have been able to work remotely like we do because the Tyler system is now on the cloud and allows the ladies to do their work as if they were sitting at their desk. So everything's working great. And that's it for the treasurer's report.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Can I get a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
Whitman approved. Motion.
Motion made by Whitman,
Cohasset,
second by,
second. Cohasset?
is that Cohasset?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes, yeah.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. Jim, continue on, please.
We do have budget transfers on the last page. There's a transfer into the security line item for $7,500 and into the professional fees for $7,500, and the savings would come from our identified savings in the health insurance line item. The security is just, there's a lot of projects going on. Plus, that's a line item that we pay the school resource officer out of to the town of Hanover. So, again, it just needs a little bit more funding for all the other security items that are coming through. Professional fees, we had a couple, and we have had a large amount of activity with our lawyers over the past few months. And we also have arbitration fees that we've had to pay for and so forth, as well as we redid our actuarial items for the audit, and that professional fee is also in this fiscal year, which was an unplanned expense. So that's the reason for the transfers into both the professional fees and the security line item.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Can I get a motion to approve the budget transfer?
Situate.
Motion made by Situate. Second by
Whitman.
Second by Whitman. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, anything else, Jim?
Well, the audits with Bruce Norling, they got the final actuarial from the Odyssey people and from the math teacher, so they're working on the numbers, and hopefully this will be back to normal in May, and they'll be able to present the audit at the May meeting.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thanks, Jim. All right, we'll move on to new business.
Chris, just ask you one question, please. This is Bob.
Sure,
from
go
Rockland.
ahead, Bob.
Hey, Jim, will that, with all the stuff going on there, tax situation, we'll still be the same as we always were? We won't be extending or doing anything like that, right?
We don't file taxes.
But, okay, so like unemployment, nothing, we're good?
We're good right now, yeah, because everybody's still getting paid, so there's no. Again, that might be part of Tom's update, but everybody's still. We haven't. I'm not, to my knowledge, laid anybody off.
Okay.
And Tom, again, that's part of the COVID update. I believe that Tom's going to give you.
Didn't mean to jump the boat. Sorry.
Okay. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Jim. All right, we'll move on to new business. Mr. Hickey, Superintendent Hickey, would you like to take it from here?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A very brief agenda. Thank you again for your flexibility. The main thrust for adjusting the date this month was for this next item, which is to alter our school calendar. As any casual viewer of the news knows, we're not exactly sure what the future is going to hold. We have just started our remote learning plan, and it would make little sense for us to then go off the grid for 4 days. So what I'm bringing you tonight is a recommendation to adjust our 2019-2020 school calendar and cancel the April vacation, which would make April 21st through April 24th school days, and that would then move the final day of school to June 12th. This will allow us to continue the continuity of this remote learning, and I think it's in the best interest of students to do so.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the 2019-2020 school calendar adjustment, making April 21st to the 24th as school days and moving the last day of school to June 12th, 2020?
Whitman motion.
Second, Adamson.
Hanover. Second by
Situate.
Adamson.
Situate, okay. Any discussion?
Yes, Whitman here. Tom, dealing with canceling the vacation and extending the school year a few days, how is that dealing with the teacher's contract?
Actually, Dan, it would be the reverse. So by us working, if you will, remotely for 4 days, the commissioner has indicated that it would allow us to actually bring our last day of school earlier. So it's actually not an extension, and the teachers union is already on board. While it is a local decision by the school committee to control the school calendar, if there was a change in a working condition, that is something that they've already stipulated, that should the school committee vote to do this, they're on board and ready to go.
Beautiful. That's why I like our teachers. Thank you.
Thanks, Danny. Any more discussion?
I have a quick question.
Sure, Bob.
By canceling this year, if there are a few, and I mean limited few, that have made arrangements to something or go someplace else, even though they may be quarantined over there. Well, I'm just asking if somebody ever did leave, will they be put back onto make up that session, or is it going to be carried over to a similar situation like their grades would be in March?
Yeah, that's a great point, Bob. The most of the districts that I'm aware of, including us, this whole remote plan has a very heavy dose of flexibility to it. So our plan, whether a kid is here in Massachusetts or is going somewhere else, we're going to reach out to families if they're not engaging, but we're really going to keep the I guess the punitive side of it, we're going to really try to set to the side. So I would say, we would probably all agree it's very unlikely that there's a greater chance that someone would be off the grid because their Wi-Fi isn't working versus them going away. But I would say I could not imagine a very harsh consequence, because ultimately what we're looking to do is engage kids, have them get their work done. And what I'm hearing, and I'll talk about this in a moment, but I'm hearing good things from faculty that that families are making sure that it's a priority at home for kids to log in. By us, we all know that even in a normal time, even in a normal school year, there are families that might take a family vacation outside of the typical vacation weeks. So we're not taking daily attendance, which we would under normal circumstances. So I guess that's my long answer is it wouldn't be as harsh and clear a penalty in terms of unexcused absences, because we're not playing by those rules right now.
So I'm just reading down the bottom here. So that the last day of school will be June 12th, no matter what.
That's correct, Bob. So if the governor were to come back later this month and adjust the return to school date, either kicking it deeper into May or making one final decision to say you're going to work remotely for the rest of the year, our last official day, remote or otherwise, would be, as you said, June 12th.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
Thanks,
all I
Tom.
just said. Question. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Tom. Any more discussion? All in favor? What was that?
Hello?
Hello.
Yep.
Aye. Whitman, yes.
Situate, yes.
Yes. Hanover, yes.
Abington, yes. Cohasset, yes.
All opposed?
Mr. Chairman, if I could just note, I'm sorry, I'll let you finish the vote and then I'll note something.
Okay. All opposed? All right. Motion carries. Go ahead, Tom.
Thanks, Chris. I just want to note that Bob Mola is on this call. He is having some audio difficulties.
Okay.
So we may need to amend votes for the record. He's indicating his affirmative votes this evening, but you would not be able to hear him at this moment. But he is on the call and he is available.
Okay, great. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
Tom, may I ask you a question? This is Cohasset.
Hi, George.
Hi. I wondered, what are your plans? Now, you may have already discussed this, but I've missed it. But I imagine that graduation is not being held.
Yes, great. That is a great question. That question was also asked in a parent forum we had online earlier this week. It's really the $64,000 question. If decisions had to be made today, the answer would be absolutely no, given the obviously the number of folks that are allowed to gather and that increasing awareness. We are definitely not alone in starting to brainstorm how we can still salvage some of the most important rites of passage in grade 12. I can tell you on a practical matter, at the very least, that the folks at the South Shore Music Circus have already indicated that were we not to have graduation, we could certainly reserve the venue for next year. I've had thoughts ranging from doing something virtual to wondering if something could be done at a later date in the summer. I think those conversations are going to really ratchet up once we find out what's happening after May 4th. But there's a feeling of disappointment, if you add the prom to that and other signature events. But you're right, George. If decisions had to be made today and put in concrete, there really would be, none of these events would be taking place. However, if we find ourselves back in school after May 4th, our prom is very late this year. It's in late May. And as you know, the graduation is the first week of June. I'm not optimistic, but it's technically still a possibility. We will definitely be informing the community and talking to counterparts about what some alternate ideas might look like for those kids who are graduating in June.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Sure thing.
You want to continue on, Tom?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. And I appreciate the questions because it does help to anchor some of the comments I'd make. We'll start with George's last comment. We're not sure how the year is going to end. We have a good remote learning plan, and now we have a revised calendar in place. That's good. I think that's a very good thing. In terms of personnel, to Bob's earlier question, we're still taking care of our employees. Everyone, our custodians are periodically checking in on the building. Our superhero engineering instructor, Jerry Shaw, along with a couple other staff, are helping with the creation of those 3D shields, 3D shields, I should say. And we're at the point now where we're making over 100 a day, and we've got a growing list of first responders and healthcare providers who are aware that we're doing it. Some are reaching out because they're being informed through social media, and I'm very impressed with Jerry, with our staff, and very happy we're able to respond. Just earlier today, I've been in touch with some folks in the Quincy Public Schools, the possibility of us maybe taking on some of their 3D printers to increase our capacity. So on that front, I think we're doing well. The staff are working remotely. And as Jim said earlier, thank you, technology. It's definitely a new normal for us, but we're certainly bridging gaps here with technology. We're mindful of all the requirements to keep our employees safe, and I think everyone's going in the same direction.
Tom,
if I could add a quick comment. This is George in Cohasset. I did thank Jerry, and I wanted to thank you again. But he was able to supply 10 of the shields to the first responders here in Cohasset, and he delivered them. So he went way beyond the call of duty, and I'm very, very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Tom, this is Bob from Rockland. If he ever needs anybody to step up and help with delivery, I'd be more than happy.
Thanks, Bob. That actually might be something we would take you up on. We are trying to make it less burdensome for first responders, for healthcare providers, and so we have, we certainly have taken advantage of people's goodwill to drop off shields at Brockton Hospital, South Shore Hospital, and other medical facilities as well. And if you are aware, second, third hand, otherwise, through your own networks of people who are who are in need of that assistance, and maybe they haven't shown up on our radar. We still have enough supplies. We've got the transparencies. Remember those old overhead projectors with those plastic transparencies? That's essentially the material that's being used for the front of the shield. We've got plenty of those, so we're more than willing to continue to support folks. So just send me a text or an email or whatnot, and I'd be happy to make the connection for you.
Yeah, I'm going to check with the Rockville Fire Department. We lost 3 today.
Yeah, absolutely. We had fire departments on our priority list today. We may have done. I'm not sure if we reached out to all of them. So any contacts you make, by all means, we're certainly happy to continue to help.
Great, thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
And I think I know he doesn't want the publicity of it, as I brought up with the Rockland Finance Committee, but something's got to be done with what he's doing there in his own, what he's doing coming in and providing this here. I mean, some schools are getting big things on Channel 5 for just supplying extra supplies. He's going really above and beyond supplying real big needs.
Yes, there's definitely recognition for Jerry, even if he's kicking and screaming. Rest assured.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's essentially it. Where we stand right now, and I'll keep you all updated as other developments come up or if other guidance comes out from the state. I should mention just briefly, still no word on MCAS testing officially. I cannot tell you concretely what's going to happen. There is a conference call with the commissioner next Tuesday. I don't have any indication that is definitely on the agenda, but we have not had a conference call in a little over a week, so I have no doubt, that will be brought up. I'm also, I guess I'll close with this, Chris, that, I'm also mindful that towns are delaying their town meetings, and that is something that we'll be keeping an eye on as well as we get closer to July 1st, and what that does and doesn't mean regarding a 1/12 budget if we, because of delayed town meetings, don't have a budget. I'm asking, Susan is helping me obtain revised town meeting dates. So that's not a definite that is going to happen for us, but it is definitely something as April goes into May, goes into June, we will keep an eye on. I'm not overly concerned, but we will all monitor that at the local level. And we'll monitor state budget needs as revenues likely fall in the next quarter. It may be minimal impact for us on fiscal 21 and a much more significant impact for fiscal 22. But the economic piece will likely be an update that I'll bring you in the next few school committee meetings.
Yeah, Tom, Dan from Whitman, but my board voted to postpone our town meeting and town election, and we haven't got a definite date yet. We're just we're knowing that we're not going to have it in May.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay. Thanks, Ms. Hickey. All right, we'll move on to the warrants.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll read the warrants in place of Mr. Haywood.
I appreciate that.
No problem. Since we didn't do warrants last month, we have a bunch of them here. They're warrants 16A, 16B, 17, 17A, 18, 18A, 18B, 18C, 18D, 19, 19A, 20, 20A, and 20B for a total of $2,345,071.50.
Wow. I'll make that motion.
Rockland.
All right. Motion made by Rockland.
Second, Whitman.
Second by Whitman. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes. Yes.
Aye. Yes.
Opposed? Okay, all right, thank you. All right, motion carries. We'll move on to any requests for action. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion, with all due respect, to adjourn from Whitman.
Motion made by Whitman,
Second, Hanover.
second by Hanover. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion
Can we
carries.
keep doing
Great.
this? Because I got nothing else.